We will get started. So thank you to all of you who are joining us today for this 45-minute webinar on goal setting for growth. You know, I'm a big proponent of having a plan and working the plan. So it's nice to be able to spend a little bit of time with you here. And I have to say before we get started, when we were planning this webinar and Jesse picked the picture in front of us for the webinar, I just thought, that is so appropriate. You know, you get to the end of the year and it's like, yay, I have money, but really you have to do some planning around it. So I think it's a great visual for what we're going to be talking about. And I of course, I think you all know me. I'm Donna Miller, president and founder of C3 Workplace. For the last 20 plus years, we've helped thousands of companies to start and grow. Love what I do. I get to work with crazy, fabulous, creative entrepreneurs. And we help them to focus on driving revenue by providing back office support, whether that's telephone answering, bookkeeping, admin, events, marketing execution. And we do a fair amount of education, which this falls under, and advisory services. And I am joined today by the one, the only, Carrie Greene. Yay! Okay, everybody clap into the chat window. Yay! Carrie, introduce yourself.
I'm Carrie Greene, and I just have to say, Donna, you guys do an amazing job over there. I love you so much, and thank you for having me here. And what I do is I help business owners really, in a word, simplify. I looked at the picture that Jesse had picked, and part of it is so wonderful because, yeah, we want to be counting our money at the end of the year, but so many of us aren't. And I help you to choose the things that are right for you to do, to understand why you are the right one to be doing it, to charge what you're worth, and to get out there and be the best business owner you can be.
Excellent. Now, it's always important to me to manage expectations. So you all as attendees have access to the chat window or the Q&A window. I would like you, when you signed up for this webinar called Goal Setting for Growth, and you looked at the description, I want you to start typing into the chat window the broad topic, and we've only got 45 minutes, and Carrie and I are pretty good at rolling with it. So if you have a specific something that you want covered, please type it into the chat window. We really want to make sure that we meet your expectations and that this is a good use of your time, which is very important to us. So feel free to type in your questions as we go along. We'd like to make this as interactive as you would like it to be, but we will get started. So let's just talk about goals in general. You know, we're coming up to that time of year when you know, January 1st comes and it seems like the world has a couple of buckets of resolutions. You know, I'm going to go to the gym more, I'm going to lose weight. And I've for quite a long time, I've not been a fan of resolutions. And I think that creating a goal and a plan really is a much better way of starting out the new year. And I think a new year is a great time to, you know, take a look back at the year and look forward. Carrie, what is your kind of process for setting goals?
You know, it kind of goes back to the simplification thing, and it's something I've been working with all of my clients on lately. And it's really, like, if we really have to think about the one thing we want to get done this year, what's it going to be? And you can look at it, as you said, in a year-long basis. You know, here we are at the end of December. We could look at it as a day basis, whatever it is. But what is the most important thing for you to get done? And within that goal, especially if you're setting it for a longer time period, like a year, what are the things that you need to do in order to get there? So that's kind of what I do. When I look at New Year's resolutions, I always wonder just how quickly is it going to be gone? And that's just not an effective way. You really need a plan behind it. And I guess that's kind of what we're talking about today also.
Exactly, exactly. So, and I don't know how many people on our webinar today are challenged at times with procrastination. And I think that procrastination comes in many different forms.
Yeah.
It is simply avoiding what it is you're supposed to do. That's kind of the obvious answer. But I think the other thing that plays into setting goals or new behaviors is doing busy work that makes you feel like you're justified in not working on that thing, which is most important, as you discussed.
Yeah, I call it productive procrastination. It's something I teach about often. And it's the day that you have 90 things on your to-do list, but only one of them has all the circles and the arrows and the highlights and everything around it. And you've done 89 things over the course of the day, except for that one. And when that happens, you end up going to bed and you say, I've been busy all day, but I didn't get anything done. And you really have done important things, but not the thing that's going to get you to where you want to be.
Right. So, we have a method here and we have a tool here for goal setting. And really this webinar, we're really kind of linking two topics because I think they're very linked, especially as we go forward in 2018. We're here really also to help you create goals, but also specifically, I really believe at the end of each year, you need to look at, should I raise my prices and am I charging what I'm worth? So that's how our two expertise, Carrie and I, will come together here. But as far as actual goal setting tool, we have a tool that we use, and I feel as far as goal setting goes, you have to look backwards to look forward. And I think there are many different types of goals. When we do our goal setting at the end of the year with each of our employees, first of all, it's a little bit of a performance plan if you have employees or key partners that you want to work with, but you have to look back at the previous year. What did I accomplish? What were my disappointments? What were the roadblocks? It's to some extent like a retrospective SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And this is kind of maybe marketing-wise or operationally. And then there's a really great question: what should I start doing? What should I stop doing? And what should I do more of? So I think that for me, goal setting is kind of multi-layered. This goal setting exercise that I'm talking about here, to me, is like a big picture goal setting. It's more kind of a journaling and, think about what motivates me. The other thing I think is really important when you are beginning to set goals as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, there is no separating my personal and business life. So, when you think about setting goals, you really have to look at all aspects of your life. Yes. Some of you have probably seen, the Wheel of Life. So the reality is you measure your financial area, your career and business, your relaxation, your health and fitness, relationships, your personal situation, and your contribution to the world. So you have to look at all the different aspects of your life and decide where are you at with those different things, and then you can begin the process of looking forward. If you decide that your health is the most important thing, well, you might have to adjust your business calendar to get that workout time on your calendar so that becomes part of what you're working towards.
It's so interesting that you're saying that, because I remember there was one year I set myself a financial goal. And as I was building what needed to happen in order to achieve that financial goal, I realized that I had no desire to do it. And it was doable, but it wasn't doable within the lifestyle that I wanted on a day-to-day basis. So I really needed to shift it and take both sides of it, the business, the personal, all into consideration. Really, really important.
Gotcha. Yeah. And we have a couple of different types of goals. So this goal setting exercise, like I said, is kind of the 40,000 foot view. But it's the beginning point for what do I want? What drives me? What are my hopes, my dreams? Where am I trying to go with this? And like you said, Carrie, what don't I want to do? Nina, we're going to talk about how to break broad goals into specific actions a little bit later on. But one of the tools we use for breaking it down is creating SMART goals. You've probably heard this acronym, but I want you to write this down because it's really important. And Carrie, maybe you can type this into the chat window for me as I'm saying it. But
Go for it.
SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So unless your goals have all of those components, they're really more like a wish list. So for instance, I have a SMART goal planning sheet that I use on Sunday nights. And I think about what are the things that I need to accomplish this week. I tend to think in short terms, and Nina, those goals will float up to my bigger goals, which we'll talk about a little later. So I take that SMART goal planning sheet and then I move to execution. And that means for me, it goes on my calendar. I budget time to actually do what I'm saying I'm going to do. Because it's great to have the best plan in the world, but if you don't execute, obviously it means nothing. Now, we know a lot of people are working very hard, and like you said, Carrie, they may not have that pile of money at the end of the year. And Amy has asked, how do we set very clear and achievable financial goals for 2018? I think just like looking back at the 40,000-foot view, you have to look back financially to create a budget and a forecast going forward. On our website, you can find a cash flow and budget tool that you can download. But, you know, part of that is charging what you're worth. So if you're not hitting the profit, if you're not hitting the numbers, it could be about charging what you're worth. So Carrie, talk to us about this very important component of setting clear and achievable financial goals for 2018.
You know, it's interesting. And, you know, Amy and I happen to know each other. We're pretty good friends. And one of the things that I see in charging what you're worth, there are a couple of things here. One of it actually goes back to what I just said. Sometimes you create this amazing plan and you just look at it and you're like, oh, I don't want to do it. So it's part of those financial goals is making sure that the goals you're setting are in line with what you actually want to do. The other thing I see happening so often for so many business owners is that we just aren't charging enough money. I saw something on Facebook earlier today, and someone had posted something in a group that I'm a member of, and they didn't understand like why they what came back to them in a comment was that you're not charging nearly enough. And what we forget often is that here we are in business and we want to be making money, and we need to be making money. That's kind of the definition of being in business. And we want to get any money we can, and we undercharge. We think that either we're not worth it, or the only way we can get someone to pay us is if we undercharge. But there's a huge liability to undercharging. One is people just don't think you're worth it anymore, so they're going to go buy the expensive version, or you're really looking down on yourself. I believe that the price we put on our products and services is what we believe about ourselves. And I've created what's called the value formula. And value stands for, and if you want to type these in, you can, Donna, or they're pretty straightforward. V stands for your vision. A stands for action. L stands for learning. U is unique. And E is enough. Now, I don't have much time to go into a lot of detail on all this, but I will go into each piece of it so that you start to look at it and really start thinking about why are you worth what you're charging for? How can you now present a higher version of yourself so that you could go out to the market with a higher price and achieve the goals that you're setting for yourself because you're doing the right things and you're charging enough for it. So V is your vision. It's your vision for yourself and your vision for your clients. So what kind of person do you see yourself being? What kind of things are you doing within your business and outside of your business? I know that so many high level CEOs, all the top 50 CEOs, they're the ones going out running marathons, doing crazy things with their bodies. They're jumping out of planes, they're doing all these crazy things, crazy in quotes, because that empowers them, that becomes part of who they are. And they bring that energy, they bring that person to the boardroom. So the more you see for yourself, the more you can bring to the boardroom, the more that you're worth. And it also goes for your clients. So if the work you're doing with your client, Donna, you're a perfect example of this. You bring people in, you give them workspace, you give them the ability to offload some of that work. So now, because I've offloaded some of that work onto you and your team, what am I able to do? What am I able to do as your client that I wouldn't have been able to do before? So expand that vision. What are your clients able to do because of the work that you're doing for them? And as you start to put that together, just your vision's like, oh, wow, I should be charging more. So I'm going to just keep going, but Donna, please, interrupt when you've got questions or you see something.
Whip through them real quick.
A stands for action. So it's really about making sure that the actions you're taking are consistent with the vision you have for yourself. So Donna, you said before, and I jotted it down here, what do you need to stop doing? What do you need to start doing? And what do you need to do more of? The way I like to put it, very similar, is if I do this, whatever this is, what can't I do? We're right here right now. That means I'm not doing something else. It's not good or bad. It's just true. So if I do this, what can't I do? And if I don't do this, what can I do instead? So start to look at the vision you have for yourself, the goals you have for yourself, and make sure that the actions you're taking are consistent with it. So again, you're fulfilling on your plan. You're able to charge more because you're actually doing the things you say you're doing. Then I look at learning. Learning is a wonderful thing because we all have done so much over the course of our lives. And I don't even care if you're a day old. You've done so much. And we forget about it. I was working with one client at one point, and she said to me, Carrie, I'm brand new at this. I can't charge more than $200 an hour. Now, let me tell you what she did. She's a leadership coach. She had been the top level executive of a Fortune 500 company, running an entire division by herself. And she said, I can't do this, Carrie. I've never done this before. And yet, it's all she's ever done. So step into who you are. All the things that you've learned over the course of your life, add to who you are today. I love to cook. I love to bake. Those are pieces of who I am. I love to, photography is something that's wonderful for me. So all these pieces, all these random things that I know become a part of who I am and what I offer my clients and what my clients benefit from. So those are things I get to charge from. Now we're going to move on to unique. Unique. Donna, when you look at a lot of the things we do, you and I, a lot of what we do is the same. So why aren't our prices the same? Why aren't we exactly the same? Because we're not. You can put a line of people who do exactly the same thing as you, and none of them are you. You are the only version of you. You've got quirks, you've got faults, you've got things that are wonderful about you, all of it. All of those things add up to who you are. The emails that get the biggest open rates for me are when I say, look, I messed up. And people want to know those things from you. It's where you're learning. It's where you're adding value to yourself and you're adding value to your clients. So recognize that there's only one person in this world who could do what you're doing in the way that you're doing, with the voice that you're speaking, and will be heard in the way that you're heard. You can put two business coaches right next to each other. We have different voices. We have different ways of speaking. We have different ways that we're communicating. Some will hit for some people. Some will hit for other people. So make sure that you're paying attention to you. You are unique. There's only one of you out there, and you get to charge for that, and you deserve to be paid for it, and paid for it well. And finally, enough. Enough is one of my favorite ones. To a fourth grader, a fifth grader is a star. And so often people will say to me, Carrie, like that client I mentioned before, I haven't been doing it long. I need another certificate. They're better than me. They should charge more. They're only charging $100. I can't charge $120. It's really about recognizing that you already are enough. You're already good enough. You already had the courses and the credits and everything else you need. Now, yes, I know sometimes you do need a degree. Sometimes you need a license in order to be able to practice. I know that. But I also know that it's time to stop waiting for permission and time to start doing. You already are enough. And that means you get to say enough. You get to say no. You get to say, I'm not going to do this. You say enough, no. And as you pull these 5 components together, your vision of yourself and your vision for your clients, what you're doing on a day-to-day basis that fulfills that vision and the goals you set, what you've learned because you're one big package, a unique package that only you embody, and that you already are enough, that's when you can say to your client, you know what? Everyone else charges $100. I charge 2 because I'm worth it.
Right.
And that's how you reach financial goals.
Right.
In the price that you're charging.
And I totally agree. And I think, one of the reasons I was excited to include this topic as part of goal setting and planning for 2018 is I often wonder if people understand the impact of what an increase on what they charge has on their bottom line.
Oh, it's amazing.
Right. So if you just think of this really simple math, if you have a 10% net return and you raise your prices by 10%, you have just doubled your net.
Yeah.
There's different ways you can raise your revenue, but increasing your prices by 10% can have a huge impact on your bottom line. Yeah. So it might be part of what you want to plan for your 2018 goals. Now, I also always talk about this success formula. And I think that being able to charge what you're worth is a combination of a couple of things. Confidence, having the right target market, and having a superior service. I never wanted to have a company where I competed on price. That's mass marketing. That's not what I do. That's not what my target market does. So our job is always about creating the unique selling proposition that we can offer. So this success formula that's on your screen right now, I was lucky enough on November 1st to mastermind with Seth Godin. Yeah, Seth Godin. I was in a room with about 75 people, and one of the things he said that really stuck with me is, as a small business owner or a solopreneur or a subcontractor, the only way that you're going to make more money is to get better clients. And the way to get better clients is to create a niche and find lucrative clients. So, and once you find those clients, don't look for 50 more, figure out what you can sell those 50. Yeah. So for me, that is where this sweet spot is. You have to know the demographics of your clients, the who, what, where, when, why. You have to know the psychographics. What are their hopes, fears, and dreams? And then if there is an event that drives a need for those services, that's where I believe the sweet spot is. And that's where your services will have the highest possible value. So part of your goal setting can be to look at your clients. Who am I serving? We tend to have different types of clients, and very often some of our clients are high touch, low profit. That's not where we want to go. We want to find where are the high profit, low touch, because for the same amount of effort, you're going to make so much more money. So again, in terms of goal setting, you need to have that 40,000 foot view, but you need to take it down to some fundamentals. Are you selling to the right people? Do you have enough confidence in what you do to go out and sell? Carrie gave you an example. I am in the process of screening consultants to help me with the next phase of my business, because even though we provide business advisory services, and I have lots of clients who come to me for those services, I don't really have perspective on my company, so I need to go outside. And I had this one consultant that I was talking to, and I loved what they were saying. I loved their process. And at the end, I said, what should I be budgeting for this, and what do you charge? And it turned out that he charged less than I did. And it immediately reduced his value, and I eliminated him as a possibility. So the truth is, how do you know you should raise prices? Your pipeline is overfull and you can't do anything else. I also was reading an article earlier, and I believe this as well. If your close ratio is 80% or higher, raise your prices. So
there's one
so how do we
Can I
incorporate
just
that?
add one thing to that one, Donna? There's, a lot of what I'm talking about is understanding the value of who you are. How often, and for me, I'm on the phone with clients most of the time. There are times when I just hang up the phone like, wow, that person just got a lot.
Right.
That was worth the time. There's sometimes you just know, your gut feeling is like, this is worth more than I'm charging.
Right.
And, it might not be your close ratio. You may need to learn how to sell better. And that's why, we're all studying, we're all learning. But sometimes you just know that you're cheating not only yourself, but you're also cheating your client. They don't recognize how valuable it is because your price isn't high enough.
Right. Absolutely. And so maybe one of your wigs, now I'm going to one of my favorite books. You all should plod through it because it's not an easy read, but it's been a game changer for me. It's called The 4 Disciplines of Execution. And the 4 different disciplines of execution talks about having focus and creating some wildly important goals. It talks about lead measures and lag measures, and that's really that's an entire webinar for another day. But Nina, this kind of goes to your point, and chime in with questions or things you need clarified here. But as an organization and as what I do from a goal setting perspective, I work on 1 to 2 wigs at a time. The law of diminishing return says, and I know this to be true, the more you do, the less you get done. I see business owners all the time who are doing 15 different things. None of them are being done well. So as you look back into 2017 and look forward into 2018, think about what are your 1 to 2 wildly important goals that will really have a substantial difference in your business. Is it in your business? Is it in your life? Is it in your health? Decide what those wildly important goals are. And then, Nina, what we need to do is log all the steps we have to take to achieve those goals. So in other words, if one of my goals for 2017 was to fill 2 Earn More programs. So what do I have to do to fill those 2 Earn More programs? There were all different steps that I had to take. There were things I had to delegate. There were things we had to do differently to get a better result in less time, and we successfully achieved it. I also, another really good thing for us as an organization is to take on clients that are associations. We're able to do a nice cross-section of services for them, administrative, event management, bookkeeping, phone answering, because the overall goal is, and I imagine, and you can chime in on this if you agree, many of us are trying to increase our value per client, our revenue per client, because if I can increase my revenue per client, that also is going to have a very substantial impact on my bottom line. So one of your wildly important goals is to up-level your account, your clients. What does that mean? It's going to mean some analysis. You're going to have to write down all the different steps. So the way I do it is I use those huge Post-it notes, which you can't see them right now, but there's about 6 of them plastered to the wall behind you, and I'm a visual person. So I write everything, and then I start putting in the steps that I have to take. Now those steps, where do you think they're going to end up? They're going to end up on my SMART goal planning sheets for how I'm going to then transfer the individual tasks onto my calendar. That's how I've been able to make execution happen. That's how I've been able to make big changes in my business. That's how I have been able to set and achieve big goals. I don't know, Carrie, where have you been able to incorporate some of this into your practice?
It's interesting. I'm looking at my own big, huge sticky notes also. So clearly we're both visual thinkers. But the other thing that I find so important for me is when I look at my goals, I have a pretty good idea of what the long-term result is. What is it I want it to look like, how I want it to play out. And I tend to micromanage the first, I don't know, half a dozen steps. Really get, this is what I have to do when I wake up in the morning. This is what's going to happen at 10. This is what happened at 11. And really micromanage those first steps. But then kind of leave the rest of it a little bit more wishy-washy. And then as I get toward the end of those first bunch of steps, that's when I start to micromanage the next bunch of steps. Because what I find is that as I start to work through things, things change. I learn something. Another option opens up. I may realize that that end goal is completely wrong based on what I learned at the beginning. So instead of micromanaging the entire project beginning to end, I really focus on understanding those first few steps. And I don't get lost. And, that's just something to me. The other piece that I find so important is accountability. So yesterday I posted on my Facebook page, here's what I'm doing today, anybody else? It's like, so that accountability helps. And like you also mentioned, Donna, having the outside eyes. So accountability is one thing, and that coach to help me, to help bring me up when I'm feeling down, to help see things in me that I can't see for myself. Those are the things that I really need.
I think that's a really, really good point. And I think that as you look forward to 2018 and you think about some of the goals that you want to set, I mean, Amy, you were talking about how do you set a clear and achievable financial goal for 2018? My first question would be is, are your finances in a form that you can do some analysis? So if you don't have your finances in a way that you can print out reports that give you information, then that might be your wildly important goal. It might be, I believe all of us as business owners, coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs, we need to have financial literacy, because in improving our company's revenue and our takeaway as the owner, that financial literacy is going to tell us what is our most profitable service, where should we be raising prices. It's the 80-20 rule. 20% of what you do is going to produce 80% of your results. So when you're goal planning, when you're looking at SMART goals, when you're looking at WIGs, when you're looking at where should I raise my prices, I want to ask you, where is the 20%? Where is the 20% that's going to get you the 80% return? So it's really, I think it's always, goal setting is always about being retrospective to be able to look forward and create bigger, better goals. Chris McChesney in the 4 Disciplines of Execution calls them WIGs, wildly important goals. They're also referred to as BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. You have to find what connects with you and what motivates you. Now, for us, and the reason we're talking about all of this is because I really do believe you should consider raising your prices in 2018. And that's really kind of a little bit at the core of what we're talking about here. I was doing some research before the webinar. And Carrie, was there anything you wanted to kind of...
No, you should. Keep going. Let's talk about this.
Okay. So, why should you raise prices? Well, we've talked about it a little bit. We've talked about the fact that if you have a 10% net profit and you raise your prices by 10% and all your costs stay the same, you now have a 20% net profit. That's a 100% increase in your net profit. That's pretty compelling right there. Carrie talked about what you charge is a statement about how you perceive your own value. So how do you perceive your value?
Yep. It's almost like, there's no right or wrong here, because they both make money. Do you want to be plastic wrap or do you want to be saran wrap?
Right.
There are times that you want to be plastic wrap. There are times when you don't.
Right.
So, as you're going, because you're going to market, which clients do you want? How do you want them to perceive you?
Right. And if you're not clear on that, then go back and work on the target market, figure out the demographics, figure out the psychographics, figure out why someone works with you. And that might require one of your wigs might be, it might be that financial literacy piece. It might be connecting better with your clients to really understand who they are. So why, I think it's pretty clear. When was the last time you raised your prices? I mean, that's another issue. When I looked, you've got some really big companies raising their prices. I mean, Netflix, remember how Amazon raised their prices? It was a very good way they did it. And I'm going to come back to that. Next, Netflix is raising their prices. Sorry, everyone. I know we're all Netflix fans, but yes, they're raising their prices too. The post office has another increase. So I think this is something we can all consider. And I think the how of it and some of the things you can consider before you raise your prices is the other thing, you know, this is kind of a combination of everything we've been saying. And I read this in a Forbes magazine, but they said, think about the story your prices are telling. The story your prices are telling is pretty revealing. You know, do you want to be a mass marketer, like Carrie said? Do you want to be Saran Wrap, or do you want to be the store brand? So, and so the other thing I want to talk about before time flies on these webinars. It always amazes me. So if you have questions, we're nearing the end, so please do type them into the chat window. But I wanted to talk a little bit about strategies for raising prices. Carrie, I don't know if this is something that you kind of have some experience with and want to lend your you know, you work with your clients to help them to charge more. So talk to us a little bit, and I have my experience as well, but talk to us a little bit about how they might do that so that it's received in the best possible way.
You know, a couple of things to remember. You walk into a supermarket, and I don't know why, I must be hungry. It's probably lunchtime. But you walk into a supermarket, and the price is what the price is. Very rarely do these big corporations make excuses for the prices that they're charging. And you know, it's the same thing with us. Like, we don't have to apologize for our price going up. We don't need these huge excuses. However, I also know that many of us just work one-on-one. We know our clients. We see them every day. We shake their hands. We do whatever it is. So I understand that we do want to put some understanding and reasoning behind it. When my prices shift, if it's a new client, clearly they just get the new price, and that's the end of it. I don't tell them the whole backstory. With current clients, what I'll often do is say, here's what's going on. We are, you know, business is, we're increasing our prices come January, come whatever. I'm more than happy to extend to you the current price for one more period, whatever that period is. And I'll often do that with current clients. And really, it's about you understanding that you're worth it. It's when you believe it, say it. And you'll often find, so many of my clients have said to me, yeah, I went out and I told whoever that I'm raising their price, my prices, and they say, it's about time. And so many of us are already undercharging that to raise your price is going to be accepted if you believe it. That's really the key, is you believing it behind it all.
Right. I think that's very, very true. And, you know, you said it, but I want to reiterate it because I think it's a very important strategy. And that strategy is start the new pricing with new clients. The hardest clients to raise prices are the ones that have been with you a really long time and you haven't raised their price. Mm-hmm. So I think we can all understand how it would be easier to raise prices with new clients. You also said give notice. I think that's also really important. When Amazon said they were going to raise the price for Prime, they gave people like 6 months notices because it was a pretty big increase. They did it with kind of tact and finesse, and they gave people a lot of notice. And I'm sure it went very, very well for them. I didn't go anywhere. So when you have existing clients and you need to raise their prices, I think the strategy to do it is to, like you said, give them notice. But the last time I raised my prices, I have a large client, and he was going to get the biggest increase because I felt that I had discounted his price too much. So I was giving him the biggest increase. And what I did was I wrote all the value that it is of working with us versus hiring your own person. So I created this whole value proposition of no one likes to receive a price increase, but at the same time, we'd like to explain the value of working with us. And we went, and this price increase won't go into effect for 30 days. And this client actually came back to me and said, okay, I don't like getting my price increased, and this is a very hefty increase, but I have to say your presentation was compelling, and so it made accepting the price increase that much easier. So tell your clients, take that opportunity to reiterate your value to them. Or maybe if you're giving them a new pricing, is there something you want to bundle into them that has perceived value on their end, but doesn't cost you a whole lot of money? You know, maybe it's a complimentary something that you roll into that. When I was doing my research, it talked about, and this is more of a consumer tact, I wouldn't do this anyway, but if there's a buy one, get one, consider going to buy 10 and get one. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you can change things in that regard. Now, we had a question here from Priyal. Referencing back to the success formula, would you say a strong way to maintain the sweet spot is reminding yourself the root reason for helping your client? In other words, remembering the original overall solution you are giving to your client's problem so you are not sidetracked. I think that's a great point, and I think that has a dual focus. A, it has the focus in keeping you on target to work with the right people, and I think it also helps you to restate your value. So in a service industry like mine, sometimes the longer you work with a client, the less the perceived value. Yeah. So sometimes the longer you work with a client, the less your perceived value is, because you've become part of the process. You've become part of the team. So again, it might be helpful to periodically restate your value to that client and remind them not only of why you help keep them in their sweet spot, but what their life was like before they started working with you.
Yeah, because you've eliminated a lot of the pain that they were having. They forget what was going on before they hired you. Right. It's a really good point. Really
right,
good.
Exactly. So we hope that you have learned a little bit about
Donna?
What?
I just want to add one thing. One thing I think we just skipped here, and I know we've got to wrap up, is how to set your price. I use the nauseous rule. Pretty much double the price you're looking at, and if you could still say it without actually throwing up, you're okay.
That's so
if you're actually going to throw up, lower it a little bit. But it's like kind of like that borderline between what can I actually say and what can I absolutely not say, and that's really where you should be putting your prices.
Right. No throwing up, that's not a good thing. But you should always, and anyone who knows me knows, I love to push people just outside their comfort zone, because that's where the magic happens. So I think you're right. Yesterday I was on the phone with a corporate employee who's doing some leadership development on the side. She doesn't know what to charge. She's got this good client. They want her to do it quarterly. I said, all right, let's start with what do you make? And she told me, and we did some math, and we added on, you know, some costs for benefits and everything else, and it came out to, I don't know, $125 an hour. And she said, okay, like I'll charge $125 an hour. I said, now double or triple that.
Yeah.
And I could see her body tense. I said, all right, if you can't double it, you have to at least, if you can't triple it, you have to at least double it.
Yeah.
Because consultants are not employees. When your client hires you, they're not making a full-time commitment. They're making a commitment to a project, so it commands a higher price. So we're out of time. So what I want to do is Carrie and I each have a little gift for you. I would be happy to share my goal setting tool with you. I would love to wrap a 30-minute consultation around that. I know that we could accomplish a lot in that time. And instead of charging, that would be a $200 value. And for the first 2 people who email me, I would be happy to provide that to you for $47, my little year-end gift to you, and to help you start your 2018, right? So again, first two people, Donna at C3 Workplace, and I'm happy to provide that to you. And Carrie, tell people what you're offering today.
So I've got a program called Procrastination to Payday because, gosh, how many people put off everything day to day to day? It goes back to what we started talking about at the beginning, getting everything done on your to-do list, but that one thing that you need to do. So in order to achieve the goals that we're setting for 2018, I've got this program for you. It's a $47 program. There is a full hour recording with it. There's a transcript that goes with it, a workbook to guide you through it, and an infographic kind of hot sheet so you really get to the key points quickly and stop procrastinating. So it's normally a $47 product. It's yours free. Take it, use it, please. And there's a URL there. It's carriegreencoaching.com/procrastination2payday. So go ahead, sign up for it. It is yours for free from me to you, and it's good through this Friday.
And we will put this information on these offers in the follow-up email. And we're out of time, but if you have any additional questions or if you want to reach either one of us, our information is up on the screen. And Carrie, I thank you for spending time today with our audience.
And thank you so much, Donna, for inviting me. And to our entire audience, I'm so excited to hear what happens with all of us in 2018.
Absolutely. So we thank you very much. You know how to reach us. And if we can help, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you all, and we wish you a wonderful holiday season and a very prosperous new year. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.